Yeah, I live in Felixstowe, in East Anglia, which is a particularly hard water area, just outside of Ipswich, which is even harder water. But yeah, Felixstowe is known for hard water area.
Yes, it is indeed. Okay, and can you tell us a bit about the situation in the house? So sort of house, bedroom, not bedrooms, not necessarily bedrooms, house, bathrooms, family, people, just the setup you have.
Right. Okay. Well, we live in a 3-story townhouse in Old Felixstowe, which is like it was built in 1827, but obviously the plumbing is a lot more recent than 1827. But it's actually got quite a good standard of plumbing, to be honest. We bought a house 2 years ago, and that's the one thing that we're pleased about, is the services were of a high standard, which is I live with my wife and I was going to say teenage son. He's 23 years old, but he's like a 23-year-old teenager. So yeah.
And a cat.
And 6 cats. Yeah, we have 6 cats.
6 cats.
6
well,
adult cats.
That's quite a handful. Okay. So when you first started thinking about that, can you describe the situation that or the problems that you were facing, and the situation that made you start to think about doing this?
Well, like I say, the plumbing is generally of good standards, but one thing that was notable in the house is that there were, like, all of the fittings all heavily scaled, and like the shower screen, it constantly leaves, you know, when you use the shower, it leaves like a scaly residue. And yeah, we've had problems with temperature control on the shower mixer and the boiler since we've been here, since the day we moved in. So the temperature that you set because we are a combination boiler, the temperature that you set the control for the water, and the same on the shower, is a lot different to temperatures being delivered, if that makes sense.
Okay, so anything in there that was personal, so anything about cleaning or anything else about the water that you think was relevant or not? Was that not part of your decision making?
It's not really part of my decision making. I mean, I'm very opposed to using chemicals unnecessarily. We try to use or avoid using chemicals where we can, but in some instances don't have a lot of choice.
Okay, and just a quick bit. Where did you find out about Halcyan? And how easy was the process of sort of getting your mitts on its own? This is obviously for Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but where did you find it, and how straightforward was it to sort of decide Halcyan rather than something else, perhaps?
Right. Well, I'm obviously, because of the industry that I work in, I work in building services in the construction industry, so I'm very familiar with some of the water conditioning technologies, but I hadn't heard of Halcyan until they did a presentation on the Waste Innovation Network, so, waste construction. That's when I first heard about them. So was quite interested in how they differ from other brands, which are usually magnetic type water conditioners, whether electromagnetic or rare earth magnets or permanent or ceramic magnets, whatever they use. So yeah, I found out a bit more, and yeah, it's a completely unique technology compared to the others. So
Okay.
yeah,
lovely, thank you.
It made a lot of sense, because the thing is, it's quite important. Where some of them they change the chemistry of the water, which is not ideal, and the likes of the magnetic ones, what I mean, I have used them in the past, you know, like the line fighters, and which I think is a brand name, but never mind. But the thing is, the effect isn't permanent; it only lasts for a few hours. So yeah.
Okay, great. And when you got it, I suppose this is trying to remember back in time, but what were you hoping? What was your kind of your hope and expectation, and we'll get on to what actually happened, but what was your sort of ideal and hopes that it would be able to deliver?
Yeah, to stop scale residue mainly in things like appliances and on the surfaces, because it's kind of, we're using the taps in the shower and the appliances, it kind of leaving a scaly residue, so it's obviously more cleaning.
Okay.
Mm.
And how long ago did you install your Halcyon unit, and how easy did you find or not, did you find the installation?
If I recall correctly, it was installed, it was about 2 months ago now. Seems about right. It's been installed for about 2 months. But interestingly, I wasn't expecting to see any immediate results, to be honest. But I think the immediate thing was there was no film on the tea. When you're brewing tea, which yeah, we have to kind of make sure it's stirred and that to stop the film developing. But now, because we do actually we do brew like real teas, if I can use that word. So we use a teapot. So it's particularly notable because you have to leave it infusing for quite a while, and usually a film will develop when you're infusing for a few minutes. But yeah, it doesn't happen. So that was the thing. That was the first notable thing, and that was immediate after installation. I forgot to mention, yeah, the installation is really easy. Right, so, yeah, 2 compression fittings. Well, I had to put the needed adapters from obviously the BSP thread, the compression. But yeah, that was like really straightforward. It's in line in the pipe, and it's only a small diameter, so it fit in without any modifications to the pipework. Even though I got the plumber to change it to chrome plated pipe just for appearance.
It's a bit flash, Tony.
It was not really. It was just for appearance because, like I say, we haven't done any other changes to the plumbing since we bought the house. So it was an opportunity to change a section of pipework that was covered in paint because yeah,
Yeah,
I don't like painted pipework.
yeah, I agree. Looks ugly. Okay.
And so this Halcyon water conditioner being shiny, so we used chrome fittings and chrome plated pipework. Just
How long did it take?
it was somewhere in the region. The installation time, because we changed the stopcock as well at the same time, because the stopcock was like fairly old. So at the same time we changed the stopcock. So to change the stopcock, replace the pipework, and install the water conditioner was done within half an hour. It was like about 20 minutes. So very quick.
Nice.
Yeah, the team was the first immediately. Like I say, the immediate thing we noticed. But then again in the first few days, once we'd cleaned down like the shower screens and all of the chrome fittings and taps, what we were finding is that there was no residue being left, and anything. Sometimes, yeah, you might get like a slight watermark, but it just washes off or just wipes off. Which before we'd have to use like cleaning chemicals. So yeah, you can literally, even with a damp cloth, you can wipe over the chrome fittings and the taps and the shower screen. We actually just use a squeegee after the shower, and it just dries without any watermarks on, which is quite fascinating. And that was literally within the first few days. But then then it started to get a little bit even more bizarre because we had a problem with our boiler. I mean, the boiler is a 26-year-old combination boiler, it's over 20-year-old combination boiler. And since we've lived here, because like I say, we bought the house 2 years ago, and since we've lived here, the temperature control on the boiler doesn't appear to do anything. So whether it's on full or minimum, it just gets continually hot water, like overheats the water, which we haven't got round to do anything about it. But then I think it was literally a few days after this water conditioner was installed, my son accidentally left the hot tap on in the bathroom basin, so the hot water was running for like something like 3 hours, which is not what you want to do when the energy prices are as they are at the moment. But anyway, after because of the, like I said, the issue with the boiler, the combination boiler, the temperature control is always turned right down. It doesn't do anything anyway, but it's always turned right down to try and, or it was an attempt to get the reduction in the water temperature. But like I say, after that event with my son leaving the tap running, I was at work, and then I got a phone call that we've got no hot water. So when I got back, I had a look at the boiler. It was actually the boiler temperature control that was holding off the hot water. So we literally turned it back up to the 55-degree mark, and it's all working. So the interesting thing is restored. The only thing that has changed is fitting a Halcyan water conditioner like about a week before. Nothing else has changed. So that's I did actually obviously phone Halcyan to see if these water conditioners, if there's a possibility that they can actually remove scale as well, remove existing scale, because the only explanation that I could see from the boiler having an immersion sensor for the temperature control is that previously maybe it was scaled up, and now that we've got the water conditioner in, it's removed the scale off the sensor so it can actually measure the temperature properly. But not only, like I say, as well as the boiler temperature control, sort of within a couple of weeks of installing the water conditioner, the temperature control seemed to have been returned to the shower mixer. Now that, again, where you would normally have the setting at the stop, which is around the 38 degrees mark, we have to go past the stop near a sort of midway in a higher temperature, which should have been in like in the late 40s, but like I said, the temperature control wasn't working properly because it's an old shower mixer. And again, that's now restored back down to where it should be. So again, that's got a thermostatic cartridge in it, which, if that's affected by scale, then that's the only explanation that I can think of, that nothing else has changed, is that the conditioned water has removed the scale from the thermostatic cartridge.
Fantastic. I have to say that we know it can, we know it does, but it is really heartening to hear somebody who knows what they're talking about actually.
Well, the shower is used a lot. We've got 3 adults in the house, so obviously there's a lot of water that goes through the shower, and obviously the boiler as well. So if it removed the scale, because there has been no other intervention, we have not taken anything apart, or there's been no other intervention whatsoever. Literally, the only thing that's changed is to install a Halcyan water conditioner.
And it stayed like that. It stayed in good condition.
Yeah, it hasn't changed. So we've still got the temperature control in the boiler, and the shower is controlling temperature where it should be.
Great, fantastic.
Because we were, you see, the thing is, we were at the point of looking at replacing the shower mixer, but because it's a Myra, you know, one of those big Myra things, and the plumbing is in the wall. So the problem that we have is, I did look at changing it. I don't know, that's 6 months ago, but because the plumbing is a specific spacing for that particular mixer, and obviously the wall is all tiled, it's actually a lot more work than just swapping over, like, say, a bar mixer or a surface mixer. So I'm going to have to, like, remove the tiles and change the plumbing. So that's why we haven't changed it. But like I say, it's working properly now, so it'll get us by for a little while, so we can prioritise other jobs that are more important.
Great. That is, I mean, one of the things that brought us to it originally, back in the day when I ran the bathroom business, was the fact that we would create beautiful bathrooms, and a year or two later you're ripping them out to fix things behind the scenes, you know, like the tiling. You know, you can leave all the access points you like for the bath, but things like the thermostatic valve, it just doesn't work the same.
Well, yeah, just the thing is, that's exactly that, because you know, we like to conceal all the plumbing, and you don't want to have to get access to it afterwards. So.
Okay, the cats and drinking water. So a little bit of background on what was going on there and what's happened since, and then the other is your lovely, your dearly beloved hair, scalp.
Yeah. So with the cats, obviously we're having 6 cats. We have like a water fountain for them to drink from, so it keeps it circulating, um, and it's actually got a UV disinfection unit in it as well, so it filters the water. It's quite a clever piece of kit, and it even sends us messages when it needs topping up when we're on holiday. So it's a sophisticated water fountain for the cats. But the thing is, it has like a stainless steel sort of bowl at the top where the fountain is, and that's always covered in scale because obviously a lot evaporates and leaves the scale behind. So again, that's been very notable because it's in the kitchen and you see it all the time. That was really noticeable because we obviously it gets cleaned out quite regularly and the filters changed and stuff. But that was really notable is that since this Halcyan water conditioner was installed, we don't get a scale build up on it anymore. It stays like shiny, apart from like like little dull speckles. Yeah, it doesn't scale up anymore. And I mean, obviously, when we clean it, it used to involve like something, like a scourer to remove the scale, and it would be quite hard work. But yeah, it literally just wipes off now. So that's quite interesting. So the cats are pleased. Not that I don't think they care how shiny it is, but it's quite fascinating how they'll have their meal and they'll walk over, and sometimes there's a queue at the fountain. Would you believe? A queue at the water fountain.
Right, tell us a little bit about your wife.
Yeah, well, this is interesting. This was my wife. It was only sort of within the last couple of weeks. She said, "Do you want to know something really interesting?" And I'm like, "Well, what's that?" She says, "Says I've had it like itchy scalp and stuff, and she had like it's almost like a more like dermatitis type effect on her forehead sometimes, and she's tried lots of different medicated shampoos and medications, but it comes and goes, and it is something that she's struggled with, particularly this year, since we've lived in this particular house, and it's been something that's constant. But again, since over the last couple of months, apparently it's just on its own, it's just gone away. And that's why she mentioned it, because it's only since we've installed this water conditioner, so she's not having to use all the medicated shampoos and medications that she was using before, and nothing else has changed. So yeah,
That's great. That's super. That's brilliant. I bet, are we a favourite name in your house at the moment then?
oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, without question. I mean, I sort of had expectations from a water conditioner. You would like say just a normal inline magnetic water conditioner. I knew sort of what to expect, but I've got to say that this has, I'm very surprised at the kind of the impacts that it's made, and how quickly and how significant. And I never expected it to fix the boiler and the shower, to be honest.
Would you recommend it to someone else?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, all day long. I mean, one of the things that I would say is yeah, they're certainly not the cheapest water conditioner on the market. Because yeah, you can buy other brands for considerably less. However, um, having used these other type of water conditioners before, they do not achieve what these Halcyon units have achieved, certainly from my experience. So yeah, all day long. This is what I have recommended it to to colleagues and family members. I think it's definitely worth the investment because, like I say, it's already saved me from having to replace or repair the boiler, certainly repair the boiler, or replace the shower mixer. It's interesting. What I didn't mention is one of the earlier observations is that because there's a 3-story house, as I mentioned, the boiler is on the top floor, so it could take quite a while to get hot water into the kitchen on the ground floor. And one of the things that was an earlier observation was we were getting hot water to the kitchen a lot sooner. And this is before we realised that the temperature control was working again.
Okay, that's great. That's really nice. And that's
difficult.
the energy efficiency.
Yeah, but it's difficult to measure because a lot of these things that we've experienced, but we weren't expecting them. So it would have been nice to kind of I don't know, take some kind of reference before we changed it, because I know our gas consumption's gone down, but so the season changed, so it's very difficult to kind of attribute any kind of efficiency. But we can tell because of like I say first thing in the morning. So I'm generally the first person to use the hot water in the kitchen, and I know that it's coming through a lot quicker. So we're obviously saving water because we're not running the tap for like best part of a minute before the hot water comes through, and it's more stable as well. See, this is the other thing. Where the boiler is in this room here. It's literally right next to me. So this is through like lockdown and stuff, or when I'm working at home. This is my home office over the other side. So I know the boiler, when people are running the shower or the hot water, it's short cycles, so it's on off. But now, like I say, I'd probably attribute it to the temperature control as well. When the tap's running, the boiler comes on and it modulates and it doesn't short cycle. So what that results in is like a more constant temperature from the taps rather than going sort of like overheating and going cold, overheating, going cold. You don't notice it on something like on the shower because it's thermostatic, but you certainly do on the taps on the startup. So again, it's made, well, that kind of tells me that maybe in the boiler, the heat exchanger is probably being more efficient, transferring the heat more efficiently. I guess having some understanding how boilers work.
I think a bit better than a guess, Tony. Without having a look at it, but I said, but yes, I mean, given what you said about the thermostatic valves, you can only assume it's doing the same inside the boiler.
Well, if the heat exchanger, because I know they're stainless steel heat exchanger and they are quite easy to clean, but yeah, if it doesn't take a lot of contamination to make those quite inefficient. So yeah, from the stability of the temperature and the fact that it's heating up a lot quicker is obviously the heat exchangers working more efficiently.
Fantastic.
Which is saving water and saving gas. I take it, but it's difficult to measure because we weren't expecting it.
It is, and of course we don't in anywhere measure the difference we spend in space heating versus hot water heating. And even though we know the percentages, we can't measure, or we don't measure the differences between what we're using for one or the other.
Well, I can, because I use I don't know whether you can see it. I've got a gadget which can actually work out from the temperatures outside, because it's part of the heating system. So it knows that because it's linked to the gas meter, it knows that if the boiler isn't got a heating demand, then it must be going to the hot water. So,
did you track that last summer? Do you have records of that last summer?
Well, the thing is, this is from Schneider. It's Drayton Insights linked to my Wiser heating controls, and this has only been in. So I've been trying to get hold of one of these for about a year, and I only managed to get hold of it literally a few weeks ago.
Right.
So,
I was hoping you'd done it through the summer, and we could then monitor
Yeah, I mean, I could probably get information from the smart meter generally, but um,
It won't split hot water and heating, I'm suspecting.
it won't. It will this year, but
Yeah. I don't,
unfortunately, unfortunately this um, display, I've only managed to get hold of that since the Halcyon unit went in.
I'd love the details of that because there's a few places where we want to do field tests where that would be an incredibly useful bit of kit to be able to do that with.
Yeah, so it's a Schneider. It's not actually made by Schneider. It comes from. I'll get the details for you. It's made by Geo.
Yeah.
Geo.
Okay.
And what it does is it connects to the smart meters. And if you've got certainly Schneider boiler controls, it will link to the boiler control. So I use the Drayton Wiser um, thermostats, PRVs.
Okay.
So what that does is because it is linked to the app and the meters. Like I say, if there's gas consumption and there's no heating demand, it knows the gas is being used for hot water.
Okay. What it can't tell then, I'm guessing, is when it's being used for both, how much is going to each.
No, it wouldn't be able to discriminate. I think it will just assume that it's heating demand.
Okay. Just trying to find different ways, easy, relatively cost-effective ways of being able to monitor that without having to go to a university level of, sensors on every bit of pipe and so on. Haven't quite figured that one out yet. Still working on it.
One thing that we're not that's not connected is the water meter, so it doesn't know about water consumption. So you could have a reasonable algorithm that if you're consuming hot water at the same time as cold water at the same time as gas, that there's more likely than not that you're making hot water.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's a really good idea, actually.
You'd have
Thank
to
you for that.
monitor. You'd need to know, yeah, because the boiler won't tell you. I don't think.
No, I haven't figured that one out yet.
Modern boilers, they have the interface that they have. I haven't got it on here, but what do you call it? They do have a more sophisticated interface.
Yeah.